As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. Discipline starts at dawn. That's where the difference is made. Not when the crowds are watching, not when it's convenient, but when it's dark, quiet, and your mind whispers, stay in bed. That's the moment. The real battle isn't with the day, it's with the morning. It's with that first decision, when your comfort tempts you and your commitment tests you. You see, if you can master that moment, you can master the rest, because discipline is a muscle, and every time you choose effort over ease, you strengthen it. Every time you rise when it would be easier to roll over, you prove something to yourself. You prove that your word means more than your mood. You prove that your goals matter more than your excuses. Waking up early isn't glamorous. No one hands you a medal for beating the sun out of bed. But over time, the reward isn't in recognition. It's in results. While others are sleeping, you're growing. While others are stalling, and you don't just get ahead, you become the kind of person who always finds a way to lead. Discipline at dawn is the spark that ignites progress. It's the cornerstone of self-respect. It's how you tell the world, and more importantly yourself, that you're serious about your time, about your life, about your future. There's no shortcut to excellence, but there is a starting point, and it begins long before the rest of the world stirs. It begins when you do the hard thing first, not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because it matters. Discipline doesn't ask if you feel like it. Discipline asks who you want to become. And the person you're becoming, that version of you gets up early, not because they have to, but because they've made a habit out of honoring their commitments. Starting with the very first one, rising with the day. Silence builds strength, not the kind that makes noise, but the kind that endures. The world is filled with constant motion, notifications, conversations, distractions fighting for your attention. But it's in the quiet moments that real growth takes root. In the silence, there are no opinions, no pressure, no performance, just you, your thoughts, and the truth. Most people run from silence. They fill it with noise because they're uncomfortable with their own company. But the strongest individuals seek it out. They understand that silence isn't emptiness. It's clarity. It's the space where reflection happens, where you meet your thoughts face to face and decide which ones you'll keep and which ones no longer serve you. Silence is where the mind recalibrates. When the noise is gone, you can hear the subtle voice of your own intuition. You can listen to your fears, your dreams, your doubts, and most importantly, your direction. In a loud world, that's a superpower. You begin to develop the habit of checking in with yourself rather than checking out through distraction. Strength built in silence doesn't scream. It doesn't show off. It doesn't need applause. It becomes a quiet confidence, the kind that walks into a room and doesn't need to say much because it has nothing to prove. You don't get that kind of strength from constant stimulation. You get it by sitting still long enough to know who you are without the world telling you. In silence, you begin to question. You ask the tough questions that most people avoid. Am I on the right path? Am I living with purpose or just passing time? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't? And here's the thing. Those questions don't always come with immediate answers. But asking them is what matters. Asking them in a space where your thoughts are uninterrupted is how clarity is born. Silence also builds resilience. Because when you've spent time in quiet, when you've learned to be alone without being lonely, outside noise no longer rattles you. Criticism doesn't shake you. Praise doesn't define you. Trends don't sway you. You become grounded, rooted, not in what the world says, but in what you've come to believe through your own reflection. Think of nature. The tallest trees grow in silence. The strongest mountains are formed without a sound. Their growth isn't loud, but it's unstoppable. Your character develops the same way, quietly, slowly, through deliberate moments of solitude where you choose to grow rather than scroll, to reflect rather than react. And it's not just about mental strength, it's about emotional control. Silence teaches you patience. You learn not to rush into answers or force solutions. You understand the value of pause. You become more measured in your responses, more thoughtful in your decisions. And that kind of emotional intelligence separates leaders from followers, maturity from reaction, wisdom from noise. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't come during action, they come during reflection. That moment in the early morning when the world is still and your mind is sharp, or that late night when everyone else is distracted but you're sitting with a notebook thinking through your next move, those are the moments where ideas are born, where strategy replaces struggle, where you make peace with your past and start planning your future. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to post about every step of the journey. Growth that happens in silence often shows up in results that speak volume. The people who spend time in silence don't need to be loud because they're living in alignment. Their habits, their mindset, their actions all come from a place of inner strength, cultivated quietly over time. So if you want to build real strength, the kind that doesn't fade under pressure, make room for silence. Not just once in a while, but as a discipline. Wake up early, sit with your thoughts, write down what matters, ask better questions, and give yourself the space to hear the answers. Because in silence, you don't just find peace, you find power. Preparation beats panic every time. When life throws the unexpected at you, and it will, those who've taken the time to prepare don't crumble. They respond, they adjust, they move forward. While others are running in circles, overwhelmed by pressure, the prepared stay calm, grounded, and focused. Panic is what happens when you meet pressure unprepared. It's the cost of procrastination. You didn't study when you should have. You didn't plan ahead. You didn't rehearse the conversation, prepare the presentation, save for the rainy day, and when the moment arrives, it overwhelms you because you've got nothing to lean on but hope. And hope is not a strategy. But preparation, that's where your edge is. That's where confidence comes from. Confidence doesn't show up in the moment. It's built before the moment. It's built before the moment. It's built in the quiet hours, the early mornings, the late nights, when no one's watching. It's built when you do the work in advance so that when the spotlight turns on, you're not guessing, you're executing. Prepared people don't get lucky. They make room for opportunity by being ready for it. They study, they plan, they think ahead. They go through the what ifs and the then whats. They rehearse their response to adversity long before it knocks on their door. So when others panic, they pivot. Think about the firefighter. When the alarm sounds, they don't run around looking for boots or figuring out what to do. They've already drilled it. They've practiced the moves 100 times. Why? Because when things go wrong, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation. And if you haven't prepared, panic is all that's left. Preparation isn't always glamorous. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's showing up to practice when no one else does. It's reading the book even when you'd rather watch the show. It's reviewing your goals each morning even when you feel like sleeping in. But it's also what separates professionals from amateurs, leaders from followers, success from chaos. Panic steals time. Preparation multiplies it. Because when you're ready, you move quicker. You decide faster. You waste less energy second-guessing or scrambling to catch up. Prepared people live ahead of the curve. They don't wait for problems to show up. They anticipate them. And they're not afraid of them either, because they've already worked through the solutions. You can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare for anything. That's the mindset. You don't know exactly what life will throw at you, but you can build the strength, discipline, and mental sharpness to handle whatever comes. That's what preparation really is. It's not memorizing scripts. It's sharpening your character. It's training your focus. It's building your emotional endurance. Prepared people don't waste time blaming the situation. They adjust to it. They're not waiting for perfect conditions. They're mastering their tools. They know that it's not about the storm. It's about how strong your foundation is when it hits. Panic is loud and frantic. Preparation is quiet and composed. and that quiet strength wins, especially when pressure rises. Look at any great performer, athlete, speaker, leader. They make it look easy, but it's not easy. It's practiced, it's rehearsed, it's planned. What looks like effortless execution is often the result of years of preparation. That's what most people miss. They want the success without the setup. They want the moment without the hours. But it doesn't work like that. You can't skip preparation and expect peace. So if you're tired of panicking, prepare. Prepare your mind in the morning before the world can confuse it. Prepare your body with movement and rest so you can carry your responsibilities well. Prepare your finances so you're not one emergency away from despair. Prepare your relationships so when hard conversations come, they don't break the bond, they build it. Preparation gives you power, the power to think clearly under pressure, the power to move when others freeze, the power to respond rather than react. Panic may be the norm in a rushed, reactive world, but you don't have to live there. You can live in clarity, in confidence, in readiness, because when the moment comes, and it always does, the difference won't be in your intention, it'll be in your preparation. And those who prepare quietly will always outperform those who panic loudly. Every sunrise is an opportunity. Not just another morning, not just another routine, but a reset, a second chance, a brand new chapter waiting to be written with fresh ink. And what you choose to do with it, that's what defines the day and eventually your life. It's easy to take mornings for granted. The alarm goes off, the same tasks wait for you. The same schedule repeats. But don't let familiarity fool you. Just because it looks like yesterday doesn't mean it has to be. Every sunrise brings with it a question. What will you do with me today? The sun rises whether you're ready or not. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for you to be motivated. It simply rises, consistently, faithfully, and that consistency is a lesson. Because opportunity doesn't wait around for convenience. It doesn't knock twice. It shows up with the day and leaves when it's over. Some people treat the sunrise like a snooze button. They delay, they sleep through it, figuratively and literally. They miss the window. They think they'll start tomorrow. But life doesn't reward delay. It rewards those who meet the morning with purpose, those who rise with the sun and say, let's go, let's build, let's grow. There's something powerful about the morning. It's untouched. It's clean. It hasn't been cluttered by distractions or drama yet. It's your best chance to focus, to align yourself with your highest priorities. Before the noise, before the rush, before the demands, there's that quiet space of potential. And if you treat it right, the rest of the day follows suit. Every sunrise is a reminder that you're still in the game, that you've got time on the clock, that you've got another chance to course correct, to move the needle, to make today just 1% better than yesterday. And that 1%, day after day, adds up to a new life. The person who sees the sunrise as an opportunity carries a different energy. They're not dragging their feet. They're not waiting for motivation. They're moving because they know time is a gift. And like all gifts, it comes with responsibility. When you realize that, you stop wasting your mornings and you start using them to design the day ahead. And that design doesn't have to be grand. It could be 1 page in a book, 1 mile on the road, 1 meaningful conversation. It's not the size of the action, it's the direction. When you string together enough intentional mornings, you change the trajectory of your future. There's an old saying, win the morning, win the day. But it's more than a phrase. It's a principle, because the way you start often determines the way you finish. If you begin in gratitude, momentum, and direction, you're not just surviving the day, you're setting the pace for it. People who seize the sunrise don't have more talent. They just make better use of time. They understand that the earlier you take control, the fewer fires you'll have to put out later. They know that a quiet mind in the morning is a powerful weapon in a noisy world. Look around. The people who are growing, achieving, and building something meaningful, they're not waiting for the day to wake them up. They wake up the day. They meet it with a journal, a workout, a plan. They meet it with intention. That's the secret. They don't hope for a good day. They create it, one sunrise at a time. They call it manifestation. They make it happen one sunrise at a time because every sunrise is a blank page. It doesn't care what happened yesterday. It doesn't care how many times you failed. It simply says, here's another chance. What are you going to do with it? And if you answer that question with action, small, consistent, focused action, you'll turn those sunrises into stepping stones. Before long, you'll look back and realize it wasn't one big moment that changed your life. It was 1,000 mornings, 1,000 choices, 1,000 times you showed up when it would have been easier to sleep in. That's how success is built, in the early hours, far away from the applause. So tomorrow, when that sun rises again, remember, it's not just another day, it's an invitation, an opportunity, a gift. The question is, will you rise to meet it? Routine shapes results. That simple truth holds more power than most people ever realize. You don't get the life you want by chance. You get it by habit. You get it by doing the right things over and over again until the results stop being a dream and start being your reality. The average person underestimates routine. They think success is about big events, one breakthrough, one lucky break, one moment of inspiration, but that's not how it works. The real transformation doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do daily. Over time, your routines carve out your results, whether you're aware of it or not. Every day you're building something. The question is, what are you building? If your routine is full of distraction, delay, and inconsistency, you're building frustration. If your routine is intentional, focused, and disciplined, you're building a future. Because your habits don't just create your days, they create your destiny. Take a close look at someone succeeding in any area, health, business, relationships, and you'll always find a consistent set of actions behind it. You'll see systems, not just spurts of effort. You'll see early mornings, not just all-nighters. You'll see consistent behavior, not occasional brilliance. That's the difference. Not more talent, not more time, just better use of it day after day. What you do regularly becomes who you are. That's the power of routine. If you work out once, you're just tired. But if you do it 5 days a week for 5 years, you're fit, focused, and confident. If you read one page, nothing changes. But if you read every day, your thinking sharpens. You gain insight. You think in solutions, not just problems. That's the compound effect of routine. And routine doesn't just give you results. It gives you structure. It gives you stability when life gets chaotic, when challenges come, and they always do. Your routine becomes your anchor. You don't have to think about what to do. You just do it. Because discipline makes decisions easy. When you've already decided how you're going to start your morning, how you're going to respond to stress, how you're going to stay focused, life doesn't throw you off as easily. People say they want freedom. They want flexibility. But the truth is, freedom comes from structure. When your routine is solid, your mind is clear. You have time. You have energy. You're not chasing your day. You're leading it. The chaos fades. The guesswork disappears. And what's left is direction, progress, and peace of mind. But don't confuse routine with boredom. It's not about doing the same thing blindly. It's about doing the right thing consistently. That's how momentum is built. That's how you go from average to excellent, not overnight, but over time, through daily choices, through the discipline to show up even when you don't feel like it. The person who shapes their day shapes their life. Because your routine reflects your priorities. If you say you want to write a book but never schedule time to write, then writing isn't really your priority. Your actions tell the truth. And your routine is your scoreboard. Now, routine doesn't mean perfection. Life will test your consistency. There will be setbacks, interruptions, changes. But if your routine is built on principles, not just convenience, It can adapt. You may fall off for a day, but you get back the next. Because it's not about being flawless, it's about being faithful to the process. Most people want change without change. They want new results with old habits. But it doesn't work that way. If you want something different, you have to do something different every single day. Not for a week, not for a month, but until your new routine becomes second nature, until the change sticks. That's where the magic is. So ask yourself, what's one habit I can start today that if repeated would change everything? What's one routine I can build that would make progress automatic? Start there, build small, but build strong. Because the strongest routines don't overwhelm you, they empower you. They become the quiet engine behind your success. In the end, your routine either works for you or against you. There is no neutral, and the results you're getting right now are the proof. So if you want different results, don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for motivation. Build a better routine and watch your life change because of it. Think before the world wakes. There's a kind of clarity in the early hours that you can't buy later in the day, when the rest of the world is still asleep. Before the noise, before the opinions, before the pressure, you have a window. A brief, sacred space where your mind is untouched, your time is your own, and your thoughts are clean. That's where breakthroughs happen. That's where direction is found. Most people wake up and immediately plug into the noise. Their first move is the phone, the inbox, the news feed, and just like that, they're reacting. They're not leading their day, they're following it. But the few who carve out time to think before the world wakes, they're the ones with clarity, with focus, with peace of mind. Because they didn't let the world dictate their first thoughts. They chose them. Thinking before the world wakes isn't just about stillness. It's about strategy. It's where you sit down with your mind and say, let's get clear on where we're going today. It's where you revisit your goals, review your priorities, and recenter yourself before life tries to pull you in 10 different directions. That's not just a good habit, it's a competitive advantage. Because once the world wakes, everything speeds up. The distractions begin. The demands come knocking. The schedule starts pressing. And if you're not ready, you end up running all day just trying to keep up. But when you've already spent time thinking, planning, prioritizing, grounding yourself, then the day doesn't run you, you run it. In the early morning, your mind is sharper. It hasn't been clouded yet. It hasn't been influenced. It's your most honest version of yourself. You can ask hard questions in those hours. Am I on track? What did I ignore yesterday that needs attention today? What's one thing I can do that actually moves the needle? You can ask those questions, and more importantly, you can hear the answers. Thinking before the world wakes isn't just about business. It's about building a life with intention. It's a time to ask, what kind of person do I want to be today? How do I want to treat people? What do I need to be grateful for that I've been overlooking? Those aren't the kinds of thoughts you usually make time for once the day is in full motion. But in the early hours, they come naturally, if you're willing to listen. Great decisions don't come from pressure, they come from perspective. And perspective isn't given, it's earned. You earn it in the quiet. You earn it in the moments where it's just you, a notebook, a cup of coffee, and your thoughts. That's when direction sharpens. That's when you realize what matters and what doesn't. Some people say they don't have time in the morning, but the truth is, they just haven't made it. You make time for what matters. And if thinking clearly, setting your intention, and leading your day well aren't high on your list, then you'll spend your life reacting to everyone else's plan instead of living your own. You don't have to be a philosopher to think in the morning. You just have to be still. Be honest. Be intentional. Ask yourself better questions. Write things down. Rehearse your principles. Remind yourself of the standards you want to live by. That's what builds consistency. Not big speeches, not motivation. Just a few quiet, consistent minutes to recalibrate before the noise begins. And over time, those quiet minutes become the most powerful part of your day. They shape your attitude. They sharpen your decisions. They build your discipline. Because while most people are still asleep, mentally and physically, you've already thought through your mission. You've already chosen your mood. You've already set your direction. It's not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's about deciding who you are before the world tells you who to be. It's about anchoring yourself before the storms of the day arrive. That's what thinking in the morning gives you. Not control over the world, but control over yourself. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings, don't rush into motion. Sit, breathe, think. Lead your mind before the world has a chance to distract it. Build your day in silence and then go live it with strength. Because the most successful days begin long before the world ever wakes. Start with intention, not obligation. Most people begin their day with a sigh, not a plan. They wake up already behind, already burdened, already reacting to a list they didn't create but feel obligated to carry. They start their day not with direction, but with duty. Not with choice, but with pressure. And that's exactly why the day feels heavy before it even begins. But there's a better way, a wiser way. Start your day with intention, not obligation. Begin by asking, what do I want this day to mean? Who do I want to be today? What am I choosing to create with the next 24 hours? Because here's the truth. You don't control everything that happens, but you do control how you begin. And how you begin determines how you carry everything that follows. Obligation puts weight on your shoulders. Intention puts power in your hands. Obligation is what pulls you into a loop of never feeling caught up. You rush to meet expectations, deadlines, responsibilities, things that need to be done, but you never stop to ask why. You go from task to task without checking if they even serve your long-term vision. That's a dangerous cycle. You can spend your whole life busy without ever being fulfilled. You can check 100 boxes and still miss the point. But intention is different. Intention is clear. It's rooted. It knows why it's doing what it's doing. When you start with intention, you choose your attitude before the world chooses it for you. You choose your focus before distractions come knocking. You choose your priorities before someone else hands you theirs. And suddenly, the same day that used to drain you starts to energize you. The difference between a meaningful day and a meaningless one isn't how much you did, it's how purposefully you did it. You could do fewer things and grow more if those things were aligned with your values, your goals, your mission. And that's what intention brings. It brings alignment. It brings clarity. It gives you permission to say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. Some people live their lives like passengers, just going where the schedule takes them. Others live like drivers, hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, intentional with every turn. Which are you? Starting with intention doesn't require an hour-long routine. It doesn't require perfection. It just requires presence. It requires you to slow down long enough to check in with yourself. What matters most today? What's one thing I can do that moves me forward? How do I want to feel when I put my head on the pillow tonight? Those are questions that change how you show up. Obligation can feel noble. It can make you feel responsible. But responsibility without direction turns into exhaustion. You were never meant to be a machine just running tasks. You were meant to lead your life, not survive it. And that starts the moment you wake up. If you wake up and the first thing you check is your phone, your inbox, your to-do list, you've already surrendered your day to the world. But if you wake up and the first thing you check is your purpose, your goals, your core, then you've taken ownership. And ownership is everything. The person who starts with intention doesn't just do what's urgent. They do what's important. They don't just react. They respond with purpose. They don't let the world dictate their day. They define it for themselves. And over time, those intentional days add up to an intentional life, a life lived on purpose, not just by pressure. You don't rise to your potential by accident. You rise to it by alignment. You grow into it by living in harmony with your deeper purpose. And the only way to do that is to begin each day not with dread, but with design. So tomorrow, don't jump into the day out of habit. Don't rush into it out of guilt. Sit for a moment. Breathe. Think. Decide. Lead your day before the day leads you. Even 5 minutes of quiet intention can outweigh 10 hours of chaotic obligation, because intention sets the tone. It centers your mind. It guides your choices. Start with intention, not because it's easy, but because it's wise. Not because you'll always get it right, but because without it, you'll rarely feel right. Choose your focus. Anchor yourself in what matters, and then carry that energy through everything else you touch. Because when you begin your day with intention, you don't just survive it, you shape it. And that's the beginning of a different life, one you build on purpose, one worth waking up for. Energy is earned, not given. People often speak of energy like it's something mystical, something that shows up if you're lucky or disappears if you're not. But energy doesn't work that way. It isn't a gift handed out randomly. It's a resource, renewable, yes, but not free. It's earned through your habits. It's produced by your disciplines. It's generated by how you live, how you think, and how well you take care of the machine that is your body and mind. If you wait for energy to find you, you'll spend most of your life tired. There's a reason some people seem to operate with fire while others are constantly drained. It's not about luck. It's about how they live. Energy isn't something you hope for. It's something you build. You build it through movement. You build it through purpose. You build it through nutrition, sleep, mindset, and momentum. You build it by respecting the inputs that your life depends on.